Bro,
How you doing?
what's going on with you?
Man, all is well. About yourself?
Good, man. Soccer today, you know how that goes.
Yeah, man. That
So,
soccer is intense, man.
man, two games a day, one 2 hours away for Tatum. And then, so my wife had to do that. And then me and T, we were an hour and a half away. And then my wife left her and Tatum, drove 2 hours to me and T to catch the second half of T game.
Wow.
Two
And then
different people.
tomorrow, same thing?
Tomorrow is 4 to 5 hours away. So,
Wow.
and it's just T, but all of us going down for his game. So it's a little interesting because we got to drop him off to his team bus, and they taking the bus down, and then me, Cherie, and Tatum, we riding down together. So
This is club team or high school?
yeah, club, and the
Okay.
level he plays a club, you're not even allowed to play high school. So
Wow.
yeah, it's one of those things. So man, it's kind of crazy. How everything going on your end? I can see you got your little scarf on. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's cold out that door, bro. I woke up this morning. It's 30 something degrees already, man. So I had to get up, bundle up. I had to put a coat on Duke this morning to take him out, man. Yeah, it's
Really,
chilly. Yeah, I ain't used to this, but
man.
yeah, but it's been a good day, man. Been a good weekend, ripping and running. Went did some shopping, went out to brunch, and got some stuff to tell you off camera, man. Some good news, you know. But man, life is good, bro. It's been a just I'm in a phase of just really trying to be consistently consistent with the habits, you know, living right, staying righteous, you know, staying accountable, all that good stuff, bro. But man, it's good. It's good, man. Compound interest over here.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Today I wanted to talk to you about a lot of people have been writing me. I already filmed a video on it, but I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't upload it
Okay.
because I
Okay.
filmed it like in the dark while I was driving late last night, just on a whim. And I'm glad I didn't upload it because I actually reached out, you know, and talked to you about it, talked to my wife about it. I'll keep the other part of it, you know, quiet for right now, what I was thinking about, just in case that, you know, comes to fruition or what have you, or I do some other work in that space. But a lot of people was writing me about this. I thought it was like a movement called the new trophy wife. And you know, we've always heard about trophy wife, but then when I looked it up, I saw it was an actual person and it was like a video that she did. And from what I was gathering, it sounds like this young lady married a man who supposedly has money, and she has two children, I believe ages 2 and 4. And come to find out, I think she married the man in under a year. And then come to find out, allegedly, he was touching on her 4-year-old daughter. And I didn't gather if it was the 2-year-old as well, but I was
Wow.
listening to the video and it sounded like it just cut off, you know, randomly. So I didn't fully understand what all was said. And then the fact that it was online. So I'm trying not to jump to conclusions because, you know, I don't know the young lady. So I don't know if what she's saying is true. You don't want to assume that it's not true
Right.
when it's something like that. But I also understand the world and how there's three sides to a story. And
Yeah.
so I feel like it would, out of wisdom, I feel like I would be wrong to just assume that the man did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just hearing her side of it, if it was the case, and if it is true, it is to me a very loud alarm to all of the women of that community, which is a community of hypergamy. You heard that term?
Yeah, like marrying up or dating up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I call it hypergamy on purpose, just because it's crazy to me. It just I don't even feel like it deserves a name. It's just crazy to me that
Yeah.
that's a thing. But I guess it goes both ways too. So there's some men trying to do the same thing. So I want
Yeah.
to ask you, have you heard about that before I mentioned it to you? And what's your initial reaction to it?
Bro, so many thoughts, man. Wow. Wow. Um, Overall, I just want to preface this by saying, man, I hope the kids are okay, regardless, and we don't know all the details of the situation, but I glanced at it briefly on my Uber ride home, and from what I can see is that she teaches and talks to women about becoming a trophy wife, and she mentioned some other women that kind of teach the same thing. And so I kind of just been seeing this soft life, soft era movement, kind of the past couple months anyway. I probably just this past year, more women are kind of like leaning back towards this. Um, and then, something else that stood out to me is that she got married in under a year. And so my initial thought is like, I don't think there's anything wrong in getting married that fast, but like if your sole focus is external and you're marrying this man because he's a man of means, but like and I'm not saying that she didn't ask this, but what is his inner being like? Like, does he have a relationship with God? Is he leading you in that capacity? Like, not just he can afford your lifestyle, but can he lead your life, right? Can he lead your kids? Is he showing you? I think it's sad, like to hear this outcome, regardless. We don't know what all happened, but it's sad to hear. But I hope this is an alarm that causes women to slow down and to stop chasing men for money and means, and really start to look at a man's character, really look at his inner being. But it's hard trying to teach somebody that when they themselves aren't spiritually grounded. They don't have a relationship with God for themselves. So it's the blind leading the blind. And so, but you have situations like this where you hear horror stories of like crazy stuff happening because what was in him, that darkness that was in him, came to the light. But because she was so focused on the external, she missed that. Like there had to be some signs or red flags before this. So that's where my mind kind of goes, is like, man, like this is tough. But then also I've heard, horror stories of like women just bringing men around their kids way too soon. Like they just met this guy and then bringing multiple guys around in the same manner. Now I'm starting to look at the women like, come on, you got to have some common sense, ma. Like you keep bringing all these different guys around your kids, but it shows the state of spiritual warfare and the amount of love that people are lacking for themselves, because love is discipline, love is having boundaries, love is understanding that as a single mother that you got to have extra boundaries and guardings over your household and your kids. So that's just my initial thoughts, bro. Like it's so much more that I could say, but I'm curious just to hear your breakdown, because the way you able to read a situation is on a whole nother level. So when you came across it, like where did you initially go?
Because the kids were involved, that changed my approach totally, because it
Yeah.
was kids involved. If it had not had kids involved, I would have been a lot more just like the chickens coming home to roost, so to speak.
Yeah.
And but with the kids involved, that you got to look at it totally different.
Yeah.
But I also already know that the man is going to be like, whoever this man is, he's going to say it's not true. And he's going to say that she's lying. And he's probably going to say he was getting ready to divorce her and she wants to take half. And so now she's making up these lies against him. So I already know it's going to be the water is going to get very muddy. But as I was looking at a few of her videos, I didn't see a man. So I don't know if she wasn't allowed to show him. And me personally, with the internet, I just don't believe anything.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of hard. Like I would have to really have some proof that she was married, like who see the guy, like see a picture of the guy,
Yeah.
see, I would just have more proof. But the thing need more proof. But one thing that I thought about is just how, like what you said, the blind leading the blind, because there's a lady who leads this movement, and I know her name. I don't want to say her name because I just don't want to drive anybody to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've heard her name several times, and they just always, like, women will come in my comments and be like, "Oh, y'all need to go listen to such and such because Tony Gaskins talking about nonsense, and he just wants y'all to be broke and with a broke, dusty man who on struggle love. You on the struggle bus in struggle love. Go listen to this woman. She teaching us women how to level up and how to get a man with money. And it just was like, this is what comes with that. Because with your typical man, with your everyday man, what he buys, what he pays for, he owns. And he will see a woman, if he has bought her with his money, he will see her as property and he will treat her like property. And
Yeah.
anything that she has, he will see as his property as well. So her children, her car, her house, her mom, her sister, he will feel like he has carte blanche to sleep with her mom, to sleep with her sister, to sleep with her daughter. If he's into the males, to sleep with her son, if he has bought her with his money.
Yeah.
Your everyday man who is has that mindset that his
Yeah.
money gets him that type of woman.
Yeah.
And then for a woman to talk about it online, that is a huge no-no. Even
Yeah.
if he was a lame or a sucker or a duck, once you make a business out of talking about it, now that's an affront to that man and he's gonna be hurt and upset and he's gonna find a way to make you look like a fool.
Yeah.
So all them thoughts flooded me. And I just wish the lady, and they mentioned another channel that I had never heard of. And I wish that they would just get shut down from giving this toxic, terrible advice, not even knowing what they're talking about.
Bro, it's a huge wave of just women flocking to women on the internet, right? And I'm not saying that all of them are not good teachers and influencers, but the meat of it, right? Like where is it coming from spiritually? Like is sad, man. I was thinking about that too, because me and you've had a little bit of a conversation offline, but I just been wondering, like, man, okay, like, what is it that has women so infatuated with the idea of romance and like the idea or the fact that romance films can be sold and they know women are going to fill the theaters to watch these movies. It just shows the level that if we're not careful, how we can make this an idol. And then so when we put those things before God, we lose a woman loses her intuition. She loses that gut, God-given instinct to be able to discern and read a situation because she's pumped her mind filled with so much just delusion and Hollywood. And so when you start dating in the real world, you have scenarios like this, and I like that you balance it out because we don't know if this is true or not. Like this could just be a vindictive person that's just trying to get back at this man, and that is the power of a woman's word, right? Like that she can just say something and we're gonna just automatically agree with her because as a society, like we put women and children first, but what's the truth, and again, not to take away from her either, but to stay neutral with it. Like that's what's tough, man. Like um oh yeah, man, I wish there was some type of like rating to where um like just certain people I don't think need a microphone, like because it's really leading a lot of people astray. And it's so weird, bro, because as a single man, as I'm observing this tempo, it's making me not want to listen to women at all, period. Right. Just as a man in general, I don't know floods of men that are flocking to the internet to listen to women. Right. But women will flock to the internet and listen to both men and women. I think that's something that to pay attention to. Right. Not to say that I don't listen to women, but I listen to women that are married and their husband inspires me, right? Because I know that his seed and his covering is on her. And so therefore, when she's flowing it out of her mouth and giving wisdom about being married and being a wife and how she met her husband, how he treats her, I pay attention to stuff like that. But um man, it's just an interesting dynamic, man, just to see this idolization of just relationships and just seeing how many just like scenarios like this. But then you get it's weird, as getting back to the main point, it's weird to me because you got women want to be a trophy wife and a boss babe all in one. And it's like I don't get it. You want to stay at home, but then you also want to be the CEO. You want to be this, you want to be that. So it's making me just like I got to a point as a man where I realized like and I mean this respectfully, but I understand that it is my duty to lead, and I think more men need to step up and just lead, and women need to be led. That's what I realize, right? Men need to be healthier. I will say that, like, we do got a lot of men that are off track, and God is not leading their life, but this is just the way of the world. The Bible shows us this. Like, when we don't follow God, we go down the path of destruction, but when we align and we become and who God has called us to be, that's where we're supposed to lead from. But it's making me as a man just really, respectfully say, like, man, I'm not listening to no woman, what she got to say. Like, I hear you, and I'm going to be respectful and receptive, but it's my duty to lead you, and you will lead me in a way. But I'm very careful with the women that I allow into my life. And as I'm on this journey of finding my wife, man, I'm really using my spirit of discernment, like really staying grounded and aligned. Like, when I'm talking to a woman, if a woman is argumentative with me any whatsoever within the first 2 dates, it's a no, because I know that we're not spiritually aligned. I know that you don't understand what submission is, and I can read that because I'm submitted unto Christ, and I understand the spirit of discernment to be able to see what is good for me and then what is a Jezebel. But on both ends, I think guys end up getting lost in chasing beauty and a booty, and women get caught up chasing wealth and social status. And this is what comes with it, because you're not dating and looking for a husband from your core. You're looking at it from your appetite of what you want, right? You're looking from your personality and your five senses of what you can see and have, but not really the feeling of peace. Like, do I feel the presence of God on this woman? Do I feel the presence of God on this man? Is he leading me and talking about teaching me anything spiritual, or can he only talk to me about options and trading and the financial markets, if he's even doing that? Like, it is, I think women have to understand their value, and they got to unplug from the world's point of view of what their value is, because the world is it wants to keep us at odds with one another, and specifically as black men and women, right? They want to keep this separation because we'll continue to produce but not provide a community that will lead in generational wealth. You got a lot of us that are talking about money online, but man, we are losing when it comes to healthy relationships that are built on a solid foundation. So, I'm gonna pass the mic back to you, but that's just my 2 cents on it too, bro.
That's deep. And man, you said a mouthful. And I can, as you were talking, I can hear and see so many women getting offended by your confidence and assurance of being a leader and being called by God to be the head of a household. And that's a problem, that people take offense to that. And that a lot, and that is on that spiritual warfare side of what has been caused, to where there's been a battery placed in the back of a lot of women that says a man can't lead. A lady commented the other day on my channel. She put, men are not intended to lead. Men are intended to protect and provide, but men don't make good leaders. And when I talked about that on another video, a lot of women were saying the same thing. Men don't make good leaders. Men don't make good leaders. And it's like, okay, well, why would God ordain that and make that to be the case? But I think what they're saying is, what they don't realize is, men who aren't surrendered to God don't make good leaders. Men who are led by their ego don't make good leaders.
Yeah.
Men who do not love and respect and fear their creator don't make good leaders.
Yeah.
But a man who is being led by God is going to be a man who is going to be sensible, and he's going to be gentle, and he's going to be understanding, but yet be confident and knowing. And the Lord convicted me, because I, having an audience on YouTube of over 500,000, and 95% of that following being women, maybe 94% now, that's like 475,000 women. that subscribe to me on YouTube. And so I have fallen victim to the deception that Adam fell to, where the adversary started talking to all of these women, talking to the woman saying, hey, you smarter than the man. You supposed to be leading the man. That God didn't mean you supposed to submit. Submit doesn't mean you listen to your husband. Submit doesn't mean that you can't, you know, open a church and be a pastor and have an audience full of men as a woman, and you preach over these men and you tell these men what to do and you lead these men. And it started to be so many women talking about Deborah. And I need to go to the Bible and read about Deborah. But it's like, listen, it's a reason why Deborah that everybody is pointing to is one person. It's a reason why we don't have 1,000 examples of God in the Bible using 1,000 different Deborahs or 10, 20 different Deborahs. So if that's who God used, that's not going to be common today. We're not going to have 9 out of 10 women be Deborah. That's not the case. And so what's happening is, and this is what I try to tell women, and I know they get mad about this, but I try to tell them, don't listen to a woman give you relationship advice about men. Like, a woman can talk to you about taking care of yourself as a woman, loving yourself better, your hygiene, your self-love, self-care, but God didn't give us the ability. God didn't give a woman the ability to fully understand a man, nor did he give a man the ability to fully understand a woman. And I wish there were more women talking about women who are women of God, loving the Lord, talking for men to hear the heart and mind of a woman about a woman. To if instead of just talking to women and giving women advice on how to catch a man, give some insight on, hey, this is how a woman feels over dinner. This is how she feels in her heart. This is how she feels on her menstrual. This is how she feels with this right here. So then a man could say, oh, okay. And then he could look at that woman and say, are you the type of woman that I would marry? So if you're in the hypergamy tribe, then I'm not listening to you because you're not the type of woman I want to marry.
Right.
If you over here in this other tribe, then I may listen to you because you represent a woman of God, Proverbs 31 woman, what have you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is just, now we see the result. If what this young lady is saying is true, and whether hers is true or not, which I'm leaning towards it being true, that would be a big, big lie to come and tell if it's not. But if what she is saying is true, now women see the result of women giving women relationship advice. Because I heard the young lady that's in discussion right now, I heard her on a video say that this other young lady that I'm talking about, who lead this movement, changed her life. Like, that woman who leads this hypergamy movement is her mentor, like her virtual mentor. And she said, this woman has changed my life, teaching me how to get a man of high net worth, so to speak. And I was like, wow, like she submitted and surrendered to this woman. And this woman had her go into a situation completely blind and put her 2 children in harm's way with a man and move in with him and marry him in under 12 months, listening to this woman that she bowing her head to.
Wow.
And I teach women all the time, never date a man in person and have him around your kids if your children are not 5 years old or older. If you have decided to get pregnant and to have children and that relationship does not work out, you need to go into relationship purgatory. I don't even know what purgatory mean, but it sounds good right there. But you need to go into something over there until your youngest is 5 years old. And that only accounts for if he or she is verbal.
Yes.
If they're not verbal yet, then you still can't bring a man around your kids until you know that you know that you know.
Yeah.
And she broke that cardinal rule. She broke that rule that I teach women all the time. The other rule she broke is getting married inside of 12 months. I always tell people it's going to take you a minimum of 12 months to see the highs and lows, the ebbs and flows of a person.
Yeah.
And you never fully learn a person. I've been married 17 years old, still don't fully know my wife. She still don't fully know me. We still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like we still both doing things and saying things in 17 years of marriage. Like, you don't know me by now. You didn't know that was going to offend me. You didn't know I would want that. You didn't know. 17 years in.
Bro, one thing I want to step back to that you said is submission. What I see as an observer is I'm seeing a lot of women submitting unto women, because you got a lot of women online that are putting on this masculine personality, and women are submitting unto this because they're not spiritually grounded. So that has become the masculine figure in their life that they are allowing to lead them, you know. And man, I think just men and women don't understand each other. That's why it's important, like you said, for women to listen to healthy men that are married, that can share their perspective, or men that are talking about their relationship with God and sharing their perspective, because you know what they are submitted unto. What is this woman that you're following submitted unto? What is her source? You know, man. And it's funny enough, this week, and I don't know, the ladies that you're talking about, but this week I was reading about the story of Jezebel and understanding Baal and like what that meant, and them serving this idol, serving this false god. And the part of the sacrifice for this was prostitution and being over sexualized, right? That's part of the. But then when you look at the culture today, right, and I look at the heartbeat of this, just a general blanket, when I look at a lot of women today, and I'm looking at like who are the mainstream artists and what they're talking about, and most of them being half naked all the time, and they're just glorifying their body and over sexualizing their body. And if you as a woman, if you're listening to this, right, this is the music that you're allowing into your ears, and then you're getting on YouTube and you're listening to another masculine presenting woman, it's like it's a recipe for disaster. Like this is, it makes sense, right? I can logically analyze this and like, okay, I see how you ran off the road. I see how you ended up where you're at, because I see what you're consuming. You are submitted unto the wrong thing. Women naturally want to submit, right? I think women just have, out of childhood trauma, pain, how they grew up, if they didn't grow up in a healthy two-parent household, women have never seen a man to follow. And so they don't know what to follow, but they follow what they saw at home. They saw a mother that had to be a feminine woman, right, by biologically, but having to put on a masculine personality. So they then go on and they follow these people in the real world, and it just becomes a problem. And that's why we really have to get back to God and be renewed in our mind to get back to our purpose. If I could talk to this young lady, I would ask her, like, why did you marry this man? And then what was your purpose for wanting to be married? Your purpose, right? Okay, we know he's a high net worth individual and he's a provider. What do you bring to the table as a wife? What is your purpose as a wife? Many people don't know this. I don't think people really think about why they want to be married or why they want to be with somebody. I think a lot of people date and marry out of loneliness, and do it just because that's the social programming of what you want to do. But really thinking about, why do I want to be married? Like, what is my purpose, right? That's a question that I ask on a date, because I know my purpose and I know my role in my leadership as a man. I am in my purpose currently. I'm not going to go into detail about that now, but it is my purpose to deliver the seed, both logically, the logic and intellect and the wisdom and the experiences God has given me with my brain, to a woman, to emotionally take her emotional intelligence and to decipher it and spit it back out to me, right? Like, you give a woman a house and she makes it a home. You give a woman meat and she makes it a meal. That is our dynamic of how we're supposed to work together, right? But because both people are off, because some men are not seeing clearly and submitted unto God, and women vice versa. They're submitted to masculine and feminine presenting people online and not really gauging and feeling their spirit. If they truly had the spirit of discernment, they would be able to see clearly, I'm watching this person online and this don't align with what the Bible is commanding me of what a man and a woman is supposed to be, you know? And so I think people just, again, I want to go down a rabbit hole of like so many other issues, but the core is that when you get away from God, like this is what happens, you know? Like I think just from my mistakes learn, I'm talking from trial and error, like somebody who has backslid and took a stupid pill multiple times, man, doing life without God, man, it's not it, you know. It's a recipe for disaster. In the beginning it comes quick and you're like, oh man, this is perfect, like look at where I'm at. But when the storms come and your foundation is not built on the rock, it's gonna wash away, you know, just as fast as it come. It leaves just as quick, if not faster, you know.
Mhm.
And that's the thing where I just think we just got to stop trying to do life without God. And like, again, the music that you listen to, who you following online, women already talk more than men. And so with the advance of the internet and now social media, women are talking, a lot. And that's great. I'm not saying women shouldn't talk, but what are they talking about? Like the substance is something we got to look more into about Eve, man. Like it's a significance that's the first part in the Bible. And I'm not saying that women are wrong or women are bad, but God has a design and structure for a reason, and not even pointing to Adam, but pointing back to God. Like we got to get back to God and allow him to lead our lives, because it's sad. Like honestly, bro, like I'm tired of seeing so many broken homes and seeing so many single women, because that ends up falling back on another man somewhere. I grew up with my dad being a pastor, and the church is full of single mothers, right? And so as a leader, my dad is pouring into the lives of other kids. I just remember growing up, and a lot of young boys would come over, to the house, and they would see my relationship with my dad and like want that, like the ache of a little boy or a little girl not having a father around is so detrimental. We really got to like get people to slow down, and I want to see more women talk about their mistakes, like you said earlier, like talk about what you wish you would have did different, or like what has worked for you as a married woman that helped you find a man that you're submitted unto, that is submitted unto God. Like that's what I want to hear. I've had private conversations with women who are 30s, 40s, 50s, and still single. And they're like, man, if I could go back, I would tell my younger self this. And I'm like, man, I wish you would get on a YouTube channel and talk about this, because it's glossed over. Like women aren't talking in reality. Again, going back to what I said earlier about romance films and just like the delusion of this made up story, we get so enamored with it and caught up in it that we make it an idol, that we forget what reality is. And so, and this ain't no disrespect to women, but man, I want to see women wake up. I want to see specifically within our community, I want to see more Black men and women get married and have healthy relationships, and produce healthy children that know what it's like to grow up in a safe environment, and to see mommy and daddy work together. I think that's the problem, is that we're not seeing that, right? And there's many reasons why that has taken place, right? Systematically, certain things have come into play to separate our households. But if we just stop celebrating whole culture and whole music, if we stop listening to rappers that call women out of their name, and vice versa, for men, if we stop celebrating these things, if we control what we can control, how much clearer and healthier our life will get by guarding our gates. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but yeah, man, my heart aches. I really want to see relationships at another level, and that's why I've been so serious with plugging into you more and asking you questions as a married man. Like, bro, what do I need to do? What do I need to look for? And specifically as a man, with the looks thing, like, yeah, like I've had to learn that the hard way. I've had access to be able to talk to my crush, the woman that I thought I just couldn't live without, right? To get it and be like, man, it's more to this. You're a 10 in the body, but you a 3 in the mind and a 0 in the spirit, right? Like, so that don't add up. It's canceling each other out. Like I need a 10 in the spirit. I need a 10 in the mind. I need to be able to talk to you. I'm at such a level intellectual. I need to deliver my purpose to you, and I need you to comprehend what I'm saying. I need you to be emotionally intelligent to receive me without arguing with me. I need you to understand that as I submit my emotions unto you, you submit your body unto me, because you also want protection, right? So that's part of that submission process, that you are saying that I am your leader, you know. And so I've gotten very clear on that. Like, again, it's understanding my role spiritually, you know, and then that bleeds into every other aspect. And so, bro, I'm really walking in it, and I want to see more men walk in that. And the beautiful part of us doing this, bro, is I've been blessed with this podcast. And I just want to give you your flowers for this real quick, going on a tangent, bro. I just want to say thank you for this, because I know this is doing more for me and my brand than it is for yours. But thank you for your voice and what you do, bro, because of this, I've been able to connect with more brothers like around my age that are single and want to do the right thing in coaching. And so, man, I see a shift taking place. I see men that are getting aligned and who are high value men. But women, if you don't get back to God, you'll never be able to see a real high value man, because you're listening to women online that are going to tell you what a high value man looks like externally, but you don't know what he looks like in the spirit.
And then to where the term high value is just so it's so low value today, because people don't know how to describe it. Like, people don't really
Yeah,
know what a high value man is, and they think it's just a man with money, a
right.
man of means, and don't understand really what that looks like. And then, what you're saying is, it is something that our society fears. But one thing I know is that, from knowing you personally, is I know you don't mean a woman any harm. Like, you're not finna have her on the street corner selling her body.
Yeah,
You're not finna be touching her kids if she was a single mom. You're not finna be beating on her and choking her out. But that's what people have associated masculinity with: abuse and control. A confident man who is a leader is seen as a toxic man. And articulating your thoughts and your feelings has now become a weapon. It's been painted as a weapon of mass destruction instead of a tool of mass instruction. And people don't understand the difference, because what the adversary does is raises up men who look like and sound like a man of value, but really at his root, he has nothing.
yeah,
But the fruit may look sort of similar, whether in his look, his dress, his sound of his voice, just how he postures. But when we get to the root, the intentions are totally different. So it's a lot of men who talking just like we talking, but their intention is to sleep with women.
yeah,
Their intention is to get women in the bed outside of marriage, break their heart, make up an excuse, and move on with their life. And to be doing that in their 40s.
yeah,
And they were doing that in their teens and in their 20s and in their 30s, and still doing it in their 40s, 50s, some men in their 60s. And so that's why it has become so much confusion. And that's why you see so many women submitting unto women,
yeah,
because women are lacking the guidance and the leadership of real men, and they are feeling vulnerable and unsafe with men. So they go to, quote unquote, the alpha female. And there are prophetess who are false prophetess, like God has never spoken to them and God has never given them a word, but they have become millionaires off of broken, lost, hurting, confused women. And some of these false prophetess talk to women about preparing for a husband. and preparing to be a bride of Christ, or a bride of a man. But they have no fruit of their own. They have not accomplished what they are so-called leading women to. They are not a bride of Christ or of a man.
Yeah.
But because their tonality is masculine and they're in a feminine body with the energy and the approach and the assertiveness of a man, women who are broken and trauma ridden, they submit unto this woman because that woman doesn't have the instrument between her legs that a man has. And they fear what's between a man's legs instead of what's between a man's ears.
Yeah.
And therefore, they will surrender to this woman because they say, oh, I'm safe here. She can't sleep with me. Not realizing that the woman doesn't want to sleep with her. The woman wants to rape her bank account, her pockets. So while she's running from the physically and emotionally and verbally abusive man, she runs into the arms of the spiritually abusive woman. And a lot of these women are spiritual slaves, spiritual prostitutes of these masculine presenting feminine women who are loud and boisterous in their tone and in their prophecies, in their instruction, but none of it is coming from God. And now what happens, just as the Bible speaks about, we in a day to where good is painted as evil and evil is painted as good.
Yeah.
And a confident, strong, assertive man of God who is being assertive in his purpose and in his calling is seen as a toxic, controlling male chauvinist. And then the man who is actually all of those negative things are seen as a man who is giving tough love to women and actually secretly on the side of women. And so women will actually end up gravitating toward a man and a woman who are online with a microphone working for Satan just because of the confusion in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And how dangerous people with sense, people with instruction from on high, how dangerous we've been painted to be seen. And people perceiving us like that. And it's crazy to me because even like with this young lady, she had a video on the 3Bs, but she accredited the 3Bs to her mom. When everybody in the world know that I created the 3Bs. And what they did is they changed one of the B's. But instead of her mom saying, hey, this come from Tony Gaskins, and I'm going to change this here B, one of the B's was beauty instead of brand. So it was body, beauty, and brains. And you know, mine is brains, brand, body.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, this is funny. And I sent it to my wife. And so that's the thing, is like what is coming from on high is being slightly tweaked and twisted, which leads to perversion. And now it's being disseminated to the world as a rhema word. But that slight little bit of perversion leads to destruction.
Yeah.
And people don't see it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And so that's where we at today, man. And it's getting real. And we're gonna see what we can do, man, and see if we can have some of these conversations. And to those people, those of you who are watching, it's gonna get uncomfortable over here. because we're going to be sharing unadulterated truth, and we're going to be real, and we bringing you into the conversation of two men who are fighting in the spiritual realm every day to be pleasing unto God, and the conversation. So sometimes it may sound like we talking to women or about women, but that's what we do as men. We talk about how the adversary is using the one key that can get us to fall away from God. When you read about the men in the Bible, majority of the time, the thing that got them to fall away from God was a woman.
Yep.
So as men, we talk about women, whether we talking about our wives, women we've dated, women we've seen in the world, women that have a microphone. We discussing that because that's typically where, if we're gonna trip and fall, that's where we trip and fall
Yep.
first before anything else. And so we bring y'all into these conversations, and what I want to urge you to do is to open your mind, truly open your ears, and don't be so quick to be offended and to debate and to argue, but to hear. And in this Decalogue dialogue, take some time and just sit still and process what we're saying from an honest, pure, loving, genuine place in our heart. Because these are the conversations that our world is missing, because we have no agenda but to move the ball down the field for the nuclear families who are surrendered to God and doing his work.
Yep. Yep. And I would say go read Proverbs. Women holler so much about Proverbs 31. Go, that's at the end. Start at the beginning and hear about the nagging wife, the adulterous woman, the lying woman, all these other, and then get to Proverbs 31 to understand, like, how come there's only one chapter about Proverbs 31, but you got several about the adulteress, the lying, the this, the that. Like, we're battling against good and evil. It's not man against woman. Evil spirits can come upon all of us. That's where we got to break this delusion that it's all toxic masculinity or toxic femininity. No, it is spiritual warfare that we're facing, and we got to see it within ourselves. Just as much as right now I'm doing my best to stay aligned and to show up here in purpose, if I backslide and I fall away from God, I can show up here and be Satan and be blind to what I'm doing, right? That's why Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, because most people are blind and don't realize the spirit that they're being operated from or operated by, because they don't know where they're operating from. They don't spend time with God. They don't pray. They don't meditate. They don't fast to get control over their spirit, mind, and body, Like, so that's what I want to urge people to do, especially, ladies, go read the word. Go read about Job, when Job's wife, when he was going through his destruction and he was being tested, and she told him to curse God, and he had to rebuke her, like that was him staying in his role as a leadership in comparison to what Adam did with Eve, like being able to allow a man, learn how to get to a place to where a man can lead you. And I understand a lot of women have been at a place to where you've never seen a man lead you or teach you. If we think about the school system, most of our teachers were women. So your whole life you've been used to women teaching you and talking to you about everything you need to know about life, right? And it's worked. It's gotten you to a certain place externally, but how many of our women are still single and want a man, but have not sat down with a man or learning from a man about men? And not because I hear a lot of women, when they complain about men, they're like, man, I wish men were more emotionally intelligent or more soft or more this or that. You want a woman. That is your role. You are to teach him that. You are to soften him up a little bit as he is supposed to deliver logic to you. That is the balance of y'all coming together. Stop wanting a woman and a man. Like, you be who you're supposed to be in your purpose, and you teach him that, you give that to him, right? Like, that's the thing. And it's just again, it's just too much off kilter. But I'm glad we're having this conversation, and in the same way that I'm talking here, bro, is the same way I talk to my little sister and other women in my life that come to me for guidance as a big brother figure, about men and about what they should be doing. I talk to them straight and raw, just like this. I think, the other problem is that in our society, again, we put put women and children first. And so we protect women from reality. But then when they become adults and they get older, they're hit with reality. And then it's like, okay, now all of a sudden it's the man's fault. But it's like, no, this has been the world in general, but you've been shielded from these things. You've been thrown Disney romance and fairy tales about a king a prince killing a dragon and going through all of these hardships to get to you, you know? Like, we got to get back to reality that we both have to work on ourselves and work for one another to work together. Like, it's all work. When Adam and Eve left the garden, it was promised that they're going to have to work and toil the rest of their life. Being single is hard, being in a relationship is hard. Pick your hard and do the work, you know. So that's my 2 cents on it. But bro, I hope we can get to a point to where we can bring some women on here and just have a healthy conversation, a healthy dialogue. You know, like, I want to be able to just talk with some women just to go back and forth in a healthy way, you know, not arguing, not over talking one another, but really speaking to pour into, but then also listening to understand, to make sure that the picture that is in my head, that I'm painting it clear enough to where you really understand me, and vice versa. Like, that's what I'm about, bro. Like, I'm over this bickering and this war between men and women. Like, that's to keep us divided, you know. So I don't even want to watch guys that are talking about women that aren't healed. I don't want to hear about women complaining about guys. I only want to talk and hear about healed perspectives and talking about growth and get into a place of marriage. If it ain't that, it ain't no need to go into my psyche. That's just gonna put weeds in my garden.
Hmm. And y'all, if you are watching this, submit in to the email. Send a email in. Send us a picture, so we can put a face with a name and know it's a real person, not just like a spam email, or like a troll or what have you. Or you could send a little 60-second video in the email if the file isn't too large, or put it on YouTube and mark it as unlisted and send that in. And because we're gonna find a day of the week where we'll be having releasing those conversations, where it may be 4 of us, 5 of us, 6 of us, having some discussion for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, and just really creating a healthy dialogue where we're not arguing, and we're able to open up and express and explain ourselves and kind of create a healthy dialogue. And we may bring some guests on in the future, and even some of the individuals that y'all ask us to discuss. I'm reaching out to different people, men and women, that y'all have brought to my attention to discuss, to see if they want to come on and speak for themselves, be it over here or on my channel. But being that Caleb is here, and I like his perspective and the questions he asked, so I want to try to get some individuals who may follow me online or know of me to come over here and we have a conversation, because questions I may forget to ask, Caleb will think about. And so we can dive a little deeper into these phenomenons, these discussions, and the things that are polarizing for our society, and really just break it down, get to the bottom of it. So thank y'all so much for tuning in and for joining us. Caleb, I'm gonna let you take us home.
Yeah, appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode. We appreciate the love and support. Again, this week, take this knowledge, take this perspective, do something with it, and change your actions in your day-to-day life. Don't let it just be words that you hear and then let it go in one ear and go out the other. Really sit and reflect about what was said. If something that we said was really sharp to you and it cut you deep, question why. You know, what is your purpose? What is the purpose of you wanting to date, wanting to be married? If you want to be a trophy wife, why? If you're trying to be a high value man in an external sense, why? Question these things and think about where you're going and where that is rooted from in your life. So, but nonetheless, we appreciate y'all, and we'll be back soon. Peace.